save a life, pointing fingers. How can we end the fight this way? One blame is the truth we're preaching, and lies are what we're believing. No one ever wins when the goal is to settle the score. One by one we will call for a ceasefire. One by one we will fight for a better end. One by one we can rewrite the headlines, standing side by side. One by one love is building an empire. One by one reaching out to our enemies. One by one we will make it to the finish line, standing side by side. Ceasefire. I will be the first to say I'm far from perfect, but grace was made for those who don't deserve it. So easy to cast the first stone, much harder to search your own soul. No one ever wins when the goal is to settle the score. One by one we will call for a ceasefire. One by one we will fight for a better end. One by one we can rewrite the headlines, standing side by side. One by one love is building an empire. One by one reaching out to our enemies. One by one we will make it to the finish line, standing side by side. Ceasefire. Teach us how to live humbly, love unconditionally, transform our hurt into hope, and grant us your peace. Teach us how to live humbly, love unconditionally, transform our hurt into hope, and grant us your peace. One by one we will call for a ceasefire. One by one we will fight for a better end. One by one we can rewrite the headlines, standing side by side. One by one love's building an empire. One by one reaching out to our enemies. One by one we will make it to the finish line. We're standing side by side. Ceasefire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the American States Assembly's podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Healy on New Jersey. And today we have special guests. We have the Peacekeeping Task Force with us. But before I introduce you to our guests today, I want to talk to you a little bit about what the American State Assemblies are. Well, it's the lawful American government that's been missing in action for over 150 years. And they comprise of living, breathing men and women, and who have identified the fraud that's been perpetrated on us. And they have gone ahead and rebutted those assumptions and presumptions and fraud and have corrected the record. And so we are operating our lawful American government and rebooting it and getting it back to where it was, the government that our founders created for us. And it's a Republican style of government. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a Republican style of government and a democracy. And now we know that the American government was always a Republican style of government. We know this because we have plenty of quotes from our founders, one of which most of us know of. And that was when Benjamin Franklin came out of the Constitutional Conference and or Congress rather, and a lady on the street asked him, "Mr. Franklin, what kind of a government do we have?" And he was quoted as saying, "A Republican form of government, ma'am, if you can keep it." Well, unfortunately for us, we didn't keep it at the time during this American Civil War, and we were usurped upon with all sorts of semantic deceit. But in any case, a Republican form of government and a democracy are very different styles of government. And a democracy is a mob rule. It's when you go and you elect a bureaucrat to represent you. Basically, you're handing over your proxy, your voice, to a bureaucrat, otherwise known as a legislature, and they grant you privileges, also known as civil rights. Now, in a Republican form of government, we uphold everybody's rights. In fact, our rights are endowed to us by our Creator. As long as we keep the peace, uphold the public law, and do no harm, our Republican form of government is founded by those principles. And that's the style of government that the American government was founded on. And that's the style of government that we are now working on. All of our state assemblies are assembled. Once again, we were called back into session by our head of state, James Clinton Belcher. And we are now rebooting and reworking our American Republican style of government. And we are actually on a rescue mission. We are rescuing all of our fellow Americans from the slave system in which they were unlawfully converted into. And how were they unlawfully converted? Well, through the birth certificate scam. And, I'm not going to get into specifics on that, but that's basically the proof that you were unlawfully converted from an American state national into a foreign jurisdiction. And so all of us Americans who have realized this fraud have corrected the public record, and we now have the lawful standing to work our American government. And so, excuse me, sorry. We are back in session, and actually, one of the things that we have recently done is we have declared peace. This foreign government that was there to provide us with governmental services has kept us in a perpetual state of war. Well, we, the American government, have now declared peace. And today with us, we have a powerhouse of peacekeepers with us. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guests, the Peacekeeping Task Force. Our first guest today is Boyd Adams. And Boyd is a retired chief of police from Kaplan, Louisiana. And in fact, I just want to point out that Boyd you can't see his face, but he is on the phone with us today. Boyd, can you say hi so everybody can hear you?
Hello, happy to be here.
All right. Now, Boyd is a retired chief of police from Kaplan, Louisiana, and a committed advocate for natural law, American common law, and the sovereign rights of the people. Since retiring in 2018, he has taken on a national leadership role as the executive secretary of the Peacekeeping Task Force for the United States of America, focusing on constitutional accountability, lawful governance, and the restoration of the individual liberties. With a deep understanding of law enforcement and lawful remedy, Boyd has led efforts to educate peace officers, sheriffs, and judicial officers through specialized 40-hour courses in natural law and American common law. He is a lawfully status-corrected American state national and a founding member of the...
Can you guys hear Tammy, or is it just me?
Oh. Can you guys hear me? Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
Tammy.
He is lawfully status-corrected American state national and a founding member of the Vermilion Parish General Assembly and Common Law Court, operating under land and soil jurisdiction. Boyd is also an active humanitarian and visionary community developer. He is active in eco-friendly infrastructure, wireless energy systems, clean water from air technology, and the construction of community centers and emergency service facilities. Additionally, Boyd is spearheading wellness-focused resort developments that offer sober living programs, healing frequencies, and employment opportunities for individuals in recovery. A strategic thinker, American common law educator, and protector of the people's rights, Boyd continues to stand at the forefront of America's return to lawful, self-governed communities. Well, thank you, Boyd, for coming on the podcast today. And I know you had some troubles with your internet, and that's why we can't see your face. But thank you for calling in and being with us this way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, next we have Louise Anthony. Louise is a farm girl, mother of 10 grown children, 9 grandchildren, and 1 on the way. She recently moved back to her stomping grounds in the country of Pembroke Township, Illinois. She became a born-again Christian at the age of 14, obtained a bachelor's degree in Christian ministries evangelism from Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and served 5 years as a pastoral elder in her humble Mennonite church, 3 of those years going through ordination to become the pastor. When her church decided that they were not going to ordain her because they felt her calling was at home with her children, which she had 6 at the time, and not in the pulpit, her life took a 180-degree turn. She turned her attention to homeschooling and homesteading, grassroots political activism, and public service in her local township government. Today, having learned about the tools used to indoctrinate and enslave the masses, she has shed herself of Christianity, the corrupt corporate government apparatus, Mockingbird television, and of the life we exist in. Oh, sorry. Legalized propaganda, called the news, and continues on her path to uncover the truth wherever it leads her. Well, welcome, Louise. Thank you for being here today. All right, next we have Richard Ernst, who serves as a PKTF Assembly Liaison on Illinois. Richard was born and raised in West Central Illinois, where he spent a good deal of time in and on and around the Mississippi and Rock River. Black Hawk State Park and Sunset Marina in Rock Island were a couple of his favorite places. He has a healthy respect and belief in nature. His curiosity for how things are made and work led him into a career in manufacturing. He's made envelopes, poured molten steel, and eventually settled into making fuel systems for a large earth-moving and mining machinery company. He felt very fulfilled with this career. During it, he touched the lives of billions of folks on a daily basis. The fuel systems he helped build moved products worldwide by train, boat, and truck. It helped kids get to and from school safely, as well as bring power and water to places that needed it. With 6 children between he and his wife, 3 boys, 3 girls, ages from 16 to 40. The boys are all younger. Youngest is 26, and the oldest girl is 25. There's no shortage of conversation, whether it's about building careers, matching accessories, or something funny someone saw. They all help keep him grounded and moving. Much of his life was spent head down, focused on working till the end, retirement. However, there was always something in the back of his mind telling him that this isn't how life is supposed to be lived. He knew we were meant to be creators, thinkers, doers, and caretakers of each other, not nose to the grindstone. How dare you look up? That's what led him to where he stands today. He started reading about how the government is a corporation, and that led him to the TASA website, which led to Anna's articles and loads more educational materials where what he believed to be validation of his aforementioned hunch about the system of life we exist in. He feels it's his duty and right to do whatever he can to correct this situation for us, for our offspring, and for all others who follow. Well, welcome to the podcast, Richard. Thank you so much for being on. And Richard mentioned the TASA website. I have that scrolling across the bottom of our screen. That's the main website for people to get a gist of the fraud that's taking place, and to it's really a wealth of resources to understand what we're doing and the fraud that's been perpetrated on us. So if you want to check that out, just log on to that website. All right, next we have Joseph Hayes. Joseph, 53, is a lifelong Kentuckian, born and raised in the Bluegrass State. He is a strong, steadfast, lawful individual with nearly 25 years of honorable service in the United States Army, having served in all three components and held a congressional rank advising platoon leadership in combat environments. He completed 2 tours and was involved in deployed operations overseas in Germany, Italy, England, Spain, Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Joseph has been happily married for over 20 years and is the father of 3 offspring, 1 daughter and 2 sons. After his military service, Joseph corrected his political status in 2020 to American State National and has maintained this status with unwavering dedication. In 2021, he recorded additional status correction paperwork, further establishing himself as a card-carrying peacekeeper, ready to serve beyond his country in state assembly with the Federation of States. Since then, Joseph has devoted himself fully to the Federation, serving in 3 sequential leadership roles, each drawing him closer to broader responsibilities. He first served as Kentucky State Coordinator, then as Postal Area 4 Chief, where he provided leadership and oversight for Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan. Joseph was also among the founding chieftains of the Continental Marshal Services, playing a key role in establishing his presence across 4 states. In 2022, Joseph became Executive Director of the Peacekeeping Task Force, also known as the PKTF, now serving all 50 states. Under his guidance, PKTF was revitalized and officially resumed international level peacekeeping charter initiatives in May of 2024. Within 7 months during 2024, PKTF brought in its other Tier 1 directors, including the Assistant Director, Affiliate Director, and Executive Secretary, as fine fate would have it. As of May 2025, PKTF does not currently have any deputy directors, though such appointments are expected at some point during 2025 to complete the organization's leadership structure and ensure full operational effectiveness into the future. Joseph is dedicated to peaceful means and strives to be a living example of integrity, working alongside other positive and solution-oriented lawful individuals in his community. His one acknowledged weakness in his choice not to surround himself with those who are consumed or paralyzed by negativity or fear. He simply does not work well with, quote, negative Nancys, with no offense intended for anyone who's named Nancy. Joseph's enduring passion is to run for county guardian, traditionally reeve or sheriff, for Spencer County, Kentucky. He looks forward to joining the ranks of wise old elders, sharing bittersweet and exciting stories of his challenging yet rewarding journey with his grandbabies, and continuing to a brighter future for them in the next generation through his and other actions and genuine example towards keeping and maintaining lasting peace. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome. And last but not, and certainly not least, we have Kathy Cridler. Kathy is a New Yorker who now calls Nevada home, with a few interesting stops along the way. She spent most of her life in Ohio and graduated from Kent State University before heading west to Arizona, where her family recently moved. The desert heat wasn't exactly her style, so she packed up and moved to California in pursuit of cooler weather and bigger goals, earning a master's degree in sports medicine. Kathy always dreamed of becoming an athletic trainer for a professional football team, ideally the Cleveland Browns. At the time, they were halfway decent, but that door never opened. Given the Browns' track record over the past couple of decades, she's pretty sure she dodged a lifetime of ice packs and heartbreaks. In the 90s, opportunities in pro sports were slim for women, so Kathy shifted gears, first stepping into a role as a facilities director at Santa Clara University, and then as a project manager in Silicon Valley for a satellite company, where she worked for 20 years. After being laid off, Kathy found herself on an unexpected and eye-opening path into health and wellness entrepreneurship. That transition not only ignited her passion for natural living, but also cracked open a deep curiosity about the world around her, especially during the pandemic. She started asking questions, digging deeper, and waking up to truths she hadn't seen before, especially about the American government and the systems we trust. A friend introduced her to the concept of American state nationals, and Kathy dove in headfirst. The more she read, the more it all clicked, and the more deceived she realized she had been. That realization lit a fire in her that hasn't gone out since about a year ago. While looking for part-time work to help support her entrepreneurial journey, Kathy came across the Peacekeeping Task Force. She set up a meeting with Joe Hayes, thinking it might be a paid position. It wasn't, but Joe's integrity, passion, and mission made such an impression on her, she joined anyway. It wasn't about money anymore, it was about purpose. Kathy has a heart for service, with volunteer experience in disaster recovery through Samaritan's Purse and ongoing work with her church's medical and security teams. She's dependable in a crisis, passionate about preparedness, and grounded in faith and truth. She may not have made it to the NFL sidelines, but these days, Kathy is training for something even more meaningful, helping restore peace, preparedness, and personal sovereignty in the hearts of Americans. When she's not volunteering or working part-time, Kathy treasures her time as a mother and doting grandmother to 2 active grandsons under the age of 18 months. She watches them while their mom is at work, a lively and challenging responsibility that keeps her on her toes. She's also in the midst of planning her upcoming wedding, adding even more joy and meaning to this season of her life. Kathy believes that true freedom begins with truth, and she's committed to helping others to find both. Well, thank you so much for Kathy for coming on the show today, and we just welcome you. So blessed to have. You're welcome. We're so blessed
Tammy,
to have you guys on.
Tammy, it is great to be here. Before we get started, Louise was trying to thank you for announcing her, but she couldn't get to her microphone in time. I didn't want your viewers to think she wasn't.
No, I'm not rude. It was just I couldn't touch the buttons. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, Tammy, as always.
Yeah, and you guys can keep your microphones unmuted if you'd like, because we're just gathered here together with friends, fellow Americans, and your bios are just really true testimonies of the beautiful people we have all across this country that love this country so much and are putting their actions and their efforts into restoring her and getting her back to her former glory. And so it's really an honor to have all of you, especially representing the Peacekeeping Task Force. And so, I'm going to start with Joe. Joe, you're the executive director here. And so I'd love for you to open us up with, can you explain the purpose, intent, and mission for the Peacekeeping Task Force and how it's connected to and supported by the Federation?
Sure. Thanks, Tammy. Can you hear me? I have just a little bit of a delay, maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Can you hear me
No,
okay?
you're good. You're good on our end.
Okay. Well, this is a really great, this is a segue, great opportunity as part of your introduction regarding post-Civil War, not necessarily things leading up to what had contributed to the American civil conflict as we know it, but particularly things that have happened after as a result to the Reconstruction effort, which, by the way, is still ongoing, which is really a fascinating study. But we'll start there and we'll segue into that. Do you have that? I think you mentioned you had a screenshot of the site where people can actually see the mission.
Yeah. So this is the Peacekeeping Task Force's main website. I'm also going to put it up, Joe, going across the screen so people can grab that. It's pktfnews.org /.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Tammy. And then as far as building out from the mission statement, of course, you have an overarching vision statement, which substantiates purpose, intent. All of these things are a part of what the website provides. And thank you for providing that at the bottom for your viewers. So purpose and intent, mainly the underlying portion or the baseline, mainline portion, the emphasis on what we're providing, it, again, is what as we can envision and can appreciate what we know of post-American civil conflict. And what would have been there for the colonies and the states, I should say, as they regroup from what they lived through for 490 plus days of incursion. So the Peacekeeping Task Force actually provides that now as if something should have been in place then during the Reconstruction, the portion of reconstructing what had taken place. So that's really the main line, the baseline emphasis. If that was to help provide more to the expectation of achieving the vision statement for the Peacekeeping Task Force, that's what we offer. So I don't know if you were aware of that. Many people haven't yet reached out to us with regards to what this means. So it's really timely for our interview, and I appreciate that again. Well, with this effort and helping the Reconstruction, you have recognition and communication. These are very pivotal and key ongoing dedications for us, Tammy, myself. Well, you too, Tammy and Luis together on other endeavors. Kathy, Boyd, and Luis as well, and liaisons, which we have Richard here to help with explain his experience so far as a liaison for his state. And then bounding beyond peacekeeping, what that means, and the title or the name of the Peacekeeping Task Force as an organization, purpose and intent, federation as a derivative, those kinds of services helps to describe what that mainline emphasis is. The connection to the federation, all of these things ties into what we offer the states. So we're really providing them the opportunity to move forward with the Reconstruction effort. We're, if you will, a sounding board or a purpose for advocating for the need for peace, the need for lawful separations of jurisdictions and recognizing those jurisdictions, and that entirely as a collective support. That's we can definitely round back to any of these points, Tammy, if you like, to add more emphasis on the baseline emphasis, mainline emphasis. But ultimately, it would be power, the empowerment of the self-governance aspect that the states provide, and as the states sponsor their county assemblies in turn. So,
yeah,
in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah, and you hit on such an important topic, Joe, is self-governance. What most people, myself included, is that when our founders created this government, and it was called the government for, of, and by the people. Didn't really give it much thought when I was learning that in school, that what does that actually mean? And so, the people, self-governing means that you start with yourself. You're responsible and accountable for yourself first and foremost. And then you're responsible and accountable for the things that are happening in your community, on a county level. And then you're responsible for the things that are going on in the state. So, there's all these different ideas of what self-governing is. And I think it's kind of a new concept for most of us, even though it's really not new. But, we've been misled to believe that bureaucrats are supposed to be governing over us. And, we're self-governing country. And that's what we're trying to get back to. And I love that the Peacekeeping Task Force is really helping to assist and bridge the peacekeeping efforts between our federal subcontractors and the American government. And and I love all the efforts that you guys are doing. And I know, I want to get a little bit into this, Joe, since you are the executive director, but you want to talk to us a little bit about the training that you've been doing. I know that there's some training going on with the handheld radios, and you guys are really working on a lot of different initiatives. Do you want to speak on maybe that perhaps before we move on?
Well, sure. And just another emphasis on the empowerment of self-governance, just describing, defining, allowing for an opportunity to express and explore what self-governance is. And ultimately, it's a discipline. It's as the word, the etymology of the word would lend itself, is that it's a discipline, and it's a self-regulation reality that we need to appreciate and that we need to discuss with each other. So the empowerment, this is what the Federation had in mind with creating a post-American civil conflict reconstruction effort. And I'll get back to with regards to some of the training we're talking about that you mentioned, but this is that empowerment, that platform, that sounding board, and that advocacy that we're going for. A lot of people can't really yet, or at least I'm observing the people's ability to define what that is for themselves. Right now, the state assemblies are jockeying for the opportunity, the empowerment to exercise what that means for a state government. But people self-governance, it's a discipline. It's a regulating, being able to illustrate their ability to equip themselves with knowledge, to be disciplined and respect jurisdictions and one another's time and efforts, being resilient for things that may fail or fall short, and then the rebound, course correction. All of those things combined really, truly highlights what self-governance is, at least to me and to the Federation. So, yes, communication. If you wanted to start with this example for this interview is a form of communication, and it's a force multiplier. We're all contributing, conscious to one another's time and opinions and interactions and so forth. Communications being probably the I would guess the center stage effort that we have for all 50 states and all 7 continents, offering the opportunity to build out an emergency, provide people the opportunity to align their logistical sensitivities, things that they have, empowering them with the ability to collaborate across state lines, and utilize those efforts as part of some of the training that we offer and services. So again, we can round back to that if you'd like.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to touch on one of the topics that in discussing self-governance is, I believe it was John Petruccio that says, basically it's how do you want to show up? How do you want people to perceive you? And I think that some of us sometimes don't think of how others perceive us. but sometimes we fall back on worrying if people like us, but the focus is never on how are we showing up in the world. And so, that discipline in which you're speaking of, kind of plays that role, is that, sometimes if people just want to let their mouth run loose without giving it a second thought of what they're saying, that's kind of the self-governance that we're speaking about when it comes to you personally self-governing, your own land, your body, and how you're showing up in the world. And then, the training that you guys are doing, I'm just starting to get into using my handheld radios, and I love, the communication, the ability to communicate across state borders, and collaborate in efforts, supporting each other, and that way. And I feel like this is, a necessary binding agent that kind of pulls us together and binds us together, and reminds us that we're all in it together.
Right.
And so
Yep.
the efforts are collaborative. And
Yeah, it's definitely a centerpiece, as I said, and as a nexus. The assemblies will, in the future, and we're just getting started with the build out. Kathy and I are, really working diligently to bring more flexibility and usability to each state. And right now, we are working on providing the network familiarity, operational aspects of the actual network, the dispatch. If you can envision each state having an emergency dispatch center, and various platforms, if it be relay communication functions, redundancies, geofencing for sensitive areas, for things that need to be monitored for those at the state level, and then within their region, all of these things combined, dealing with medical dispatching, all of the things that we should appreciate about our current infrastructure. Law enforcement, of course, peacekeeping efforts, criminal reporting, BOLO lists, things like this, APBs, things crossing county lines and state lines, all of these things combined, it takes a concerted effort and a network. And so that's another part of the communications aspects that you're appreciating yourself at the moment.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm gonna go on to Kathy, and I'm going to remove this from our screen here. But if anybody wants to go onto the pktfnews.org and look up, what Joe and team are doing, it's really fantastic effort by this team here today. But I'd like to move on to Kathy. Kathy, what are some of the main responsibilities as an assistant director with the PKTF that you currently have, and what has been the most challenging serving in this role?
I'm on the company side of PKTF as opposed to the administrative side. So that's the health and welfare of the organization. I assist in hosting the initial PKTF Assembly Liaison interviews, managing email correspondence and information distribution. And then I also hold one of two roles responsible for authorizing financial expenditures, along with our wonderful executive secretary, Boyd. I've also taken on the adventure of setting up the American Peacekeeping communication webpage for the sale of the D10 radios, which we were just talking about. And that has equal parts of exciting and humbling. I'm definitely a novice when it comes to web design. I've had to consult with some very smart people. And so it's been a lot of learning on the fly and celebrating those small victories, like the button finally works, but it's all coming together. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Biggest challenge, I would say that one of my biggest challenges is keeping up with Joe. He somehow works this 60-hour work week of his full-time job and manages to show up with ideas and energy and his fancy PowerPoint presentation. And he writes endless articles. But seriously, I do aspire to be like him, because a significant challenge that I face is simply just finding enough hours in the day to accomplish everything I need to accomplish. We're all volunteers, so between work, personal life, it's tough. And the scope of our work is so important and often so urgent that prioritization really becomes critical. And it's just about balancing the strategic planning and team coordination and engagement in key initiatives. But I see this as a reflection of how meaningful and impactful our mission is. So
Awesome. Yeah. And I'd like the effort that you have put through, coming in without having any formal knowledge of what you were getting into, and just kind of jumping in both feet, and doing a great job. I want to put up on the screen here now. This is the communications landing site, right, that you were talking about?
it is, and it's a work in progress. We're working on it now. It's going to be changed. Probably in the next couple of days, it's going to look a bit different. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so this is the website for state assemblies who want to get on board and start learning about the radio communications and possibly purchasing, correct?
Correct, yeah. And then eventually we'll have some information there that serves as some videos for training, so we don't have to meet with everybody one-on-one. And that's where we are right now. It's in flux, but it will definitely get better.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys have made some really great strides here. And so I would agree, Joe, I know you're a hardworking man, and, everybody on this podcast today is balancing so much. And so it really is an honor to be on this journey with all of you, and so grateful for all of the time and energy that you all put into what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. So,
And Tammy, and if I may, we're just getting started. Wait to discuss with the other three that are here what we've been able to pull together cumulatively and collectively. This last month was our anniversary, our first year anniversary working together, and we didn't come in all together. We kind of we discovered each other along the way in a very short amount of time, and so I can only imagine what this same time next year would be like with the same effort.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, that what I love so much, Joe, about all you guys that have served formally in in the capacity of either the military or as a law enforcement officer. I know that's you and Boyd, is that you're continuing to serve your country, and that's one of the things that I love so much, especially about former military and police, the people that are recognizing the fraud, understanding that we have to make things right. And so there's a moral obligation here that I think the majority of us feel, and that's the calling. We've been called to this mission, and your love and your passion for wanting to do the right thing definitely shows through. And so I love that. And I'm going to just segue this into, Boyd is on the phone. So Boyd, this next question is for you. So, you may not be aware of it, but you've become quite an inspiration for many state assemblies in their dealings with our federal subcontractors, particularly the policy enforcers. So I have a few questions for you. One, can you describe what your interactions have been like with them? And two, how do you see things playing out, and with the PKTF team, do y'all have a plan to help us move forward in this area?
At first, the pushback, I guess you can call it, was tough, but it's starting to ease up. I'm also going to be speaking at a conference here soon in Louisiana, which is a great thing. So, and I'm starting to talk. First of all, I'm friends with a lot of police chiefs and sheriffs in the state, personal friends. And there's a couple of them that wouldn't speak anymore. And now we're speaking again, and they're asking questions. So they're starting to hear and see, and that there's something going on, and there's something different that they need to look at. So it's getting a lot better, a lot better. I'm pleased. I didn't think it'd been like it is right now. You know, I'm sure there is some states that there's more trouble and some whatever, but it's starting to get a lot easier, I believe. You know, and Louise, with her work she's doing, you know, it's a lot of information is getting out. She is doing just an outstanding job, what she does. And there is a plan, you know, it's just educate. That's the big thing. Once they know and see it, they can't unsee it, just like we can't unsee everything we've learned. You know, it's just unbelievable, but
Yeah,
that's what it is.
what do you think are some of the hesitancies to the law enforcement officers who are refusing to see what we see, right? Because you need to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. What do you think is the challenge with some of these police officers that perhaps don't want to hear this or see this?
The way they've been educated about sovereign citizens. To them, we are sovereign citizens, and you can explain it till you blue in the face to some, and some they get it, you know. But that is the biggest setback, you know. Like the FBI notice that went out about sovereign citizens, and they just look at that, and you know, in training, when they go to the police academy, they trained about sovereign citizens, and it's everything we are, you know.
Yeah, and the funny thing that I just want to point out here, is as we're waking up, we're finding that these organizations, these alphabet agencies, FBI, CIA,
Mm-hmm.
these are all criminal organizations, and maybe they didn't start off at first as criminal organizations. Maybe there was a true intent to protect people, and it was all about safety. But like everything else, it's been infiltrated and corrupt. And so, we know that organizations like the FBI and the CIA have been involved in criminal activity and basically, protecting the criminals.
If I may, Tammy and Boyd,
Yeah,
just want
go
to
ahead.
interject and just kind of show the power of correspondence and just keeping the nose to the grindstone for information. Kathy had sent over to me just the other day. Frankly, I'm not surprised that we find these things that does shine a light on nefarious deeds that the powers that are and should be to a limited extent have done what they've done. So my point is, in the 1940s, Kathy, I don't recall the congressional holiday, which still exists today, but in a different venue and under a different name and under a different description. Maybe you can provide that for Tammy, and we can discuss this. I mean, we will discuss this tonight during our training meeting. But essentially, the Congress at that time, and for 12 years beyond that, recognized their people and everybody who serves them as sovereign citizens, and they spoke to about these people and their service honorably. Not to mention, this had went on beyond 1952 into the 70s, where sheriffs themselves would write and speak honorably about and recognize people within their counties as sovereign people, sovereign citizens. So this term was not a pejorative term just 80 years ago. In fact, it was held honorably. Now, the nefariousness of it all now with alphabet agencies who've taken it upon themselves to flip the script, I guess, or change the narrative, seize the narrative, and then assert nonsense. The absurdity is just, and we have the proof is out there, and this does deserve to be discussed again in the research setting to explain exactly why law enforcement today has taken a 180-degree turn and now deem whatever this term is, which is not even a lawful or legal infraction. It's just a notion, but it just so happened to be recognized as a federal holiday, So,
Yeah.
and Yeah. So I just wanted
I
to put
think I
that out there
remember.
in
I
in
think,
all fairness.
yeah, I think I remember that document that Kathy shared with you, and I do want to say too that you know, when we first saw the article that was put out by Police One about sovereign citizens, I did my own little research, and it turns out if you actually look into the corporation called Police One, who owns them? Well, it's Lexipol. Okay, and when you look into who owns Lexipol, okay, it's a financial organization that's
Right.
based out of New York City. And they actually publish training manuals for EMTs, fire departments, and police organizations. So my question is why would a financial investment firm uh, be in charge of creating training manuals for our police force?
Special
So
interests.
yeah, you know, and when you look into the owners of that you know, investment firm, it's no surprise that one of the founders was CEO of Citibank. You know, so when you keep doing the digging and you actually do the research and you actually find out who the perpetrators really are, you've got people. You know, we all know about the Rockefellers and what they did with our medical system. You know, and so all these different uh, I don't know, perpetrators, criminals, whatever you want to call them, they have control over the educational materials that are going out. And so you've got all these amazing men and women that truly do want to serve and protect. And they're going into a police academy being trained with a training process that was created by criminals.
Well, yeah, Tammy, again, if I may, what we are dealing with is calculated corporate special interest groups, and that
Right,
they have the upper hand in it as it is over the narrative. And so, just
right.
going back to the term, and the duplicity is genius if you think about it. So, you know, kind of hats off to observers who will take the time to research, and given the opportunity to research, unfettered research, and just open up for dialogue, this duplicitousness. Again, going back to the sovereign citizen um, term, held embraced as a kind service back then. Back then, as well as now, sovereign Americans are not sovereign citizens, but they could be citizens of their subcontractors if they so choose. And in reflection to what was celebrated then annually, it was the same then as it is now. We could be, and we have been, so we have been foisted upon us the some kind of tacit agreement to become one of their citizenry, one of their constructs, their 14th Amendment corporate subjects, you know. So
Right.
it's just really, really super clever. And, you know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we are not the people who have corrected their
Right.
political status
You
are
know,
not.
the FBI's.
Yeah,
Oh, hold on.
we are
So,
not.
Go ahead,
I'm
Boyd.
sorry. I couldn't barely hear him. I thought he was finished talking.
Sorry, go ahead. Yes, I am.
In the FBI's report, it states that a sovereign citizen is a United States citizen.
Correct. Yeah.
We're not United States citizens. You know, it's just that's just one little part of the scam lies that will put on the population to live the lie, just to live the false, you know, court systems and all of that. It's so massive, but they didn't leave anything out. You know, it's just all has to be corrected.
Right.
And hopefully we're doing that.
Right. And it's people like you, Boyd, who are retired. You know, you served many years as you know, in law enforcement and as a chief of police. And even after retirement, you're still serving the people. And so we're just blessed to have people like you jumping on board and helping us sort out this mess. And so we're really grateful.
Yeah. 95 to 99% of police officers are good-hearted people in it for the right reason and have no clue of what we know, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we need police, we need sheriffs, we need these people. I think me and Joe talked about this the other day. We need to find a medium of working together and
Absolutely.
moving forward, doing what's right, enforcing the law,
Right.
not fake law.
Public law.
So,
Yep, the public law. And you know what I find so interesting is, back in a few years ago when I was exercising my freedom to travel and I was pulled over and, unlawfully detained and all that stuff. When I presented the police officer the Supreme Court cases that upheld my freedom to travel, they didn't want to look at that. So I find it so very interesting that the indoctrination, kind of like what you said, Boyd, with the training, is that there's this training that has taken place, and it's like a brainwashing of not letting our men and women that wear that uniform actually think for themselves.
Right. I was one of them. I used to be one of them.
Yeah. So it's really a matter of extending the olive branch, letting them know that we are just regular people that are not domestic terrorists and that are here to exercise our freedoms in which we so lawfully have earned and are owed. So, I love it. And we're just so grateful that we have you on board with us and doing the hard work to get us there. So, all right, I'm going to move on to Luis. Luis, what motivated you to volunteer with the Peacekeeping Task Force, and what are some of your goals serving as the affiliated director?
Thank you, Tammy. So what motivated me, to be honest, it was actually an unexpected invitation by Joe and Kathy. And it started like this. So back February 2024, I got this inspiration to do this international public notice campaign to let America know about the fraud and that they've been unlawfully converted to foreign citizen status and they need to correct their political status and we need to restore our American government. And so when I got that inspiration, I created my postcard. I created this funnel. I was going to use the postcard. The postcard was going to lead them to this website. This website was going to lead them to the state assemblies. The state assemblies was going to sign everybody up. And so I had all this laid out, but I wanted to use the Federation's logo, the seal. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm authorized to use this seal. So I went to ask Anna on one of the coordinator calls. Anna, can I use the seal to run this campaign and to do this and to let the people know and start this rescue mission? Because I felt like what we were doing as I was listening in the assemblies and listening to all the training, I was feeling like we need to get out there. We need to get out there. We're not getting out there. We need to get out there. And so that's why I think I was inspired with the postcard campaign, because I had that sense of emergency, So when she told me, yes, I could use it, and I was like telling her, and I can see how we can use this strategically. Every state can use it to go county by county, and we can, strategically do this. And she was like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, you can use it. So when I guess you saw that and you called me or texted me or emailed me something, said, oh, Louise, we heard about your campaign. Can you come to the International Outreach Think Tank and present the outreach campaign that you talked about? I'm like, and I really didn't know you. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I came to the International Outreach Think Tank meeting and presented it to the think tank, told you about the international postcard and the website and, doing county tours. And you all was like, yeah, we want to do that. I'm like, y'all sure y'all want to do this? Because this is what I'm thinking about, because I was going to do it by myself, but it was going to be on a small scale, right? Just what I can handle. And then y'all was like, yeah, that's a good idea. We want to do some outreach. We want to do that. That is strategic. I can see us really making headway. And you all were like, I was like, well, I got the support. So yeah, we can do this. And I'm like, I got some other ideas. You want to hear those? And y'all was like, yeah, what else you got? So as you all was supporting what I was saying, the inspirations that just kept coming, I'm like, Well, once we do the international public notice postcard, we can do the county tours, and then we can put our educational steroids. We could create this TV platform that talks about education videos. We can have our online school platform. Then we can have our news blog over here in print. This is our printed news. So while we're out there doing our county tours, all the nationals can report back what's happening on the ground, and we can put it on our news platform. Y'all was like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, okay, let's do that. I got some more. Y'all was like, yeah, let's hear it. So I said, to culminate all of this, we can do a 3-day event where we take to the public stage and let America know and let the nation know that American government is restored. And then we can invite our subcontractors to the carpet. Say, if they don't show up, then we let America know that what they're doing is cricket. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. And I was like, I got some more.
Yeah, your ideas just kept flowing like one after the other. I don't know what was happening, Louise, but and when you came on to the International Outreach think tank meeting, you know, and just for those who don't know what that is we were just state nationals from all across America coming together and combining resources, really. You know, because we didn't have that many people experienced with, you know, doing different kinds of marketing and what was the right, you know, what was going to be the buzzwords that would attract people and get their attention to actually listen to what we had to say. So when you presented your postcard campaign, everybody on that call that night was really moved and inspired by your project. And the thing that I loved most about it was the fact that you were making it an international notice, an international public notice. And and then, you know, it just started to evolve and everybody saw these beautiful, well laid out project that had different phases that made sense. It was logical. And so, you know, I think that's why it was embraced as much as it is, and so I think it was you know, a beautiful project. It is a beautiful project, and in fact, Louise has created a YouTube channel. I have that link going across the bottom of the screen. So if you want to see the work that she's been doing with this project. She has it laid out there, explaining the whole process, everything. And Louise, from my understanding, you know, you're offering it to all 50 states, but it's, you know, obviously no requirement for anybody to use it, but it's a beautiful resource. And like I said, most of us felt that it was really well laid out, all encompassing outreach. It really is outreach effort. And I, for one, really love the TV platform. I feel like instead of these talking heads that we have on our news channel, that we could actually have real people having real conversations and talking about real things that are happening in their lives. And I will point out, you know, I'm just going to do a little plug for Louise here. She did start doing an advisory interview process. So she has real Americans that she's been doing one-on-one interviews with and telling their personal stories. And some of these stories are so egregious. The crimes that have been pushed upon the people. And so I love that you are spotlighting their stories and getting that out to the public, because I think that's important for us to report on. But I don't mean to interrupt you. Can you continue?
So that what I just described was like 5 phases. I just kept laying it on. But then it got to a 6th phase that just kind of this inspiration came. And it was the 6th phase was the inspiration was we need to go to our governors. Every state need to address the governor and have our county sheriffs go address the governors and have them raise our peace flag, because peace has been declared on the land. We need to raise our peace flag, require them to raise the peace flag on that county building and put in their courtyards a big billboard that says correct your political status. and we need to demand them to stand down and transfer the governance and the power and control back to the American government. And I brought that to the international think tank, and I was like, I don't think we have the authority or the power to do this phase right here. And then you told me about the Peacekeeping Task Force. I didn't know who the Peacekeeping Task Force was. And you said, because I said, I think the county sheriffs could do this. And I called it Anna's capitulation tour. I think at that time, that's the best term I could use to articulate what I'm trying to do with this phase. And I said, Anna don't even have to leave her home. We can have our county sheriffs out there going to the state capitals. And you said, well, you could contact the Peacekeeping Task Force and contact Joe Hayes to see if they can help with this. And so that's how I got involved with the Peacekeeping Task Force. You gave me the email, and I emailed Joe, and I waited. A month passed. I'm like, let me email again. I don't know, how else to get a hold of him. Then he emails me back, says, yes, I am interested, and we can set up a meeting. So I finally got a meeting with Joe and Kathy, not knowing who they were, not knowing who the Peacekeeping Task Force, but I just know I think I need you all for this particular phase. So I need to tell y'all about it. So we got on free conference call meeting, and here I meet Joe and Kathy. And they're so pleasant, and they're telling me about the Peacekeeping Task Force. And I tell them about why I wanted to meet with them. And so I go in telling them about phase 3 of my project. It's a stand down phase, and I need peacekeepers to rally together and to go meet the governors and tell them about going from county to county. So while the American state assemblies was going county to county to introduce themselves as the American government in the postcard campaign, I was like, we need the peacekeepers, the county sheriffs, and the Peacekeeping Task Force to go county to county, meeting with the governors and telling them raise that peace flag. And I'm going on, and I'm going to, and I'm like, and we need our fiduciaries time. We need to make sure she's using her time wisely, and I need to get her ear to tell her about the project and all this kind. And I'm going on, and then Joe interjects and says, "Yeah, we know. We've been following the international outreach think tank videos and the work you've been doing. It's a great, grandiose project." And he just starts going on about the project that he already knew about. And he was like, it's far advanced in what we've seen, and we need talent like yours. And he goes to start talking about his newsletter about legacy funding and how this is going to their gesture of supporting people who come on the Peacekeeping Task Force. We want to support you. And they were telling me all this. And it was funny because the audio on the free conference call was going in and out. And I was like, okay, okay, what is that now? And he was telling me, and Kathy introduces herself and says who they are. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes in to say, it's the company side that Kathy referred to. There's the company side, and then there's the management side. And I'm like, okay. I'm waiting for him to tell me, yes, he's going to do the project, right? I need them to take that on so I can do this over here with the outreach think tank, right? And then he starts to say, well, it's just me and Kathy. And, and we look for people like your talent and everything. And what you do is so far beyond what we've seen. It's like, and I'm thinking he's about to tell me it's only me and Kathy, so we can't do it. That's what I'm thinking, actually. But he actually went on to say how the project that I was developing was so advanced that he wanted me to come aboard the Peacekeeping Task Force as the affiliate director. And he told me that he wanted me to focus on the 50 state assemblies, while he and Kathy focus on the foreign nations, the foreign state assemblies. And he wanted me to build out my vision and to make it a model for all the nations of the world can follow to build their land and soil jurisdiction government. That's what we want you to do, but no pressure. I'm like, okay.
And you do have, I believe, I know Tara Australis has been on the think tank meetings, and they're really interested in your project, and I believe other nations as well, probably Canada, but
Yes, Canada, Ireland, and I believe Spain as well through translation.
Nice, yeah,
In South Africa.
Oh, yes, South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So so it's great, great work, and so that's the story in a nutshell. So I love how you all are building out.
Let me say this, Tammy. I after I finished talking to them, I called you. Not after, but a few days after. You wanted to know how did it go? Were they going to do phase 3, right? And I was like, well, Tammy, I think they hired me.
That's right.
I said, I think it was an interview. I don't think I'm getting paid though, even though they talked about some money. But I think I'm an affiliate director. They want me to be. And I told you, Tammy, I said, but I asked them, am I going to be doing this project? Because this is what I want to do. They said, yeah, this is what we want you to be focusing on. I'm like, well, okay, I'm in.
That's great. That's great. And, you know, the interesting thing is that, you know, we're all working on donations, you know, and so, you know, we're hoping that there's a day, right, that because that's the other thing, right, that we've been hoodwinked into worshiping the almighty dollar, and basically working our whole lives so that we could live, you know, a wealthy life, right? We have good things, we can afford to do things. But when you learn about the fraud and you learn about what the money actually represents, and you learn about that aspect of the fraud, what I love what our organization is doing is that they've built their own banking system, the Global Family Bank, and it'll have prepaid credit that we can, you know, that we've already earned. By the way, we've already earned it. How many times over? I don't know how many times over, but you know, so this lack of money, or you know, needing something to motivate us to move forward, right, is that all of us are going to be paid so much more over just by giving, right, being of service to others and giving of our time, you know, unconditionally. And that's what I call the ultimate unconditional love, is giving of your time, your energy, and your resources, without needing anything in return, just doing it because there's this love for your fellow man, and you have such a moral obligation to do the right thing. And that's what I get from all of you. And that's what I gravitate towards, that energy that I feel from you all. And I love it. Well, anything else you want to share with us, Luis? I do have that your 1776 YouTube page going across. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, just to everybody, all the state assemblies, and to know that this project was developed for everybody to use. And now I'm developing with the county assemblies for them to use. And it's not a requirement of, like you said before, but it's a service that we provide here at the Peacekeeping Task Force for outreach. This is a strategic way for all the assemblies, and it's a strategy that everybody can rinse and repeat. And that's how I developed it, so that you can start at any point. You can start at phase 1. You can start in phase 3. You don't have to start at any particular point, even though it's developed as a graduated phase, so that it can hit all angles of what we need to do to accomplish our recognition, is to accomplish the recognition as the American government, and to take to the world stage of who we are and get that recognition, and stop the 160-year crime that's being perpetrated upon us. We need to rein in our federal subcontractors and bring protection to the American public, because it's time. It's long overdue. And so that's why I created it. And I'm glad to be aboard the Peacekeeping Task Force. They're so supportive, and they're my sounding board. There's 2 things I asked for when I came when I came aboard and I was in the meetings, I asked Joe for two things. I asked, can I create a strategy task force? Because I needed a sounding board to listen to my ideas and my inspirations and to critique and to strategize with me. He said, yeah, you can have that. I said, the second thing I need is an audience with Anna. I need to meet with her regularly. He's like, I don't know about that one.
That's a tall order right there.
So yeah, so we're working. I'm in and out with Anna, trying to get the project fine-tuned, get her approval on everything, and get it launched. Got 2 more things left to do with the project before it's launched, and I'm going to try to get that done within the next month and 2. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I also want to point out that with that strategy task force is that you have many state nationals across all different state borders that have been contributing to the project. You know, you've kind of been the mastermind behind it, but there's many other people that have been contributing to the efforts. And so, you know, if they're listening, a great big thank you to those people. All right, I want to move on to Richard. Richard, can you explain what the role of a PKTF liaison is and why you wanted to serve in this capacity for your assembly?
Hi, Tammy. Sure thing. I feel that the PKTF Assembly Liaison is to help states assemblies with the development and organization of their militia assembly and their public militia. We're also meant to be part of the like the warm handshake, the initial front line of people to talk to a lot of the de facto agencies, LEOs, if you will, um, to say hello and greet them and let them know, hey, we're here, and educate them in the common law and how they're supposed to be protecting us and upholding our rights. I believe that we facilitate that through strategies around training and education that we do by networking with within the communities for collaboration. I think the reason I chose this role for me is because I like to help people, and I have found that I have a pretty decent knack for organizing and executing physical work and processes. And so I think that being involved in the militia is a lot of what that revolves around. I also think it's through getting folks to basically rebuild their communities, rebuild their neighborhoods. Everything, our society has been so geared towards breaking everybody down and separating everybody. I think that's what needs to be done. I've heard it mentioned, it's the grassroots movement. We got to start at the bottom and get people to start caring about each other again. And I think rebuilding the communities and neighborhoods is how we start. And it's through the militia. We need to help train and educate each other in how to take care of each other so that we can be prepared to deal with disasters, whether they're natural or man-made, so that we can help each other recover from those disasters and survive them.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that, and I feel like that liaison position is such a necessary position for our assemblies to have, and it's a great resource, really, in the helping with the training. And I want to point out for people who may just be tuning in for the first time, you know, I feel like this is, you know, for all of us who are in the know, so to speak. We know that the word militia means the people. It's just another word that means the people. I think it's a Hebrew word, right? The Hebrew root of the people.
Yes.
And so, you know, self-defense is only one of the aspects of a militia, but there's so much more involved in a militia, like what Richard just said is, you know, natural disaster relief, emergency response, you know, all these different tools. And the Peacekeeping Task Force is helping with the training for that. So,
Tammy, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that is one of the things that has probably been the biggest challenge being involved in it as far as I have so far, is getting people past that stigma of the militia being a group of people who are out to hunt something or somebody down and destroy it. And that's
Right.
not what it's meant to be. Yes, we are here to protect ourselves and each other if the need arises. But the main goal is to help educate us in basic survival skills that we might need in the situations as they call for them. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent point. And also uh, a perfect name for the organization, the Peacekeeping Task Force, right? Is that the job is to keep the peace, and so all of our liaisons are helping to train up our assemblies and what that means to help keep the peace, and that's our ultimate duty as American state nationals, is to keep the peace and uphold the public law. And so, all this training and education is really such a helpful tool, and we're grateful that we have that. All right, so this is for anybody. What has been some of the most challenging situations within the PKTF? Anybody can answer this. Boyd, if you want to chime in, just say so.
Okay. Not enough hours in the day.
I would have to agree with you. That's probably all of our challenges.
Yeah.
So much to do and never enough time to do it.
That's it. But loving every minute of it.
Yep. What about any of you guys? Joe?
Tammy, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I have found that we face is acceptance. I have run into a lot of folks who just flat out, I don't know if it's because of a bad past experience or because they've been misled by some other information they may have read or something, but there is a huge amount of resistance of people who seem to think that the PKTF is here to come take control over something and tell us how that we're going to run our assemblies and we're going to do this. And that's not what we're about. We're about education, network, communications, and working together to help facilitate assemblies growth the way that they want to grow. That's the biggest problem, is acceptance, I think, that I've run into so far. Thank you.
Yeah. And Joe, I just want to add to this, because I think Richard hit a very important point here. When our assembly was experiencing some difficulties, and we were kind of faced with some, stumbling blocks and, roadblocks as far as help and what to do. I naturally reached out to Joe because he leads the Peacekeeping Task Force. And, my experience with Joe is he lended some really helpful advice. He was never forceful. He never said, you have to do this, you have to do that. It was always a suggestion. And like self-governing individuals, this is what we all need to wrap our heads around, is that and I can only speak for myself, so I'm just going to speak on my behalf, is that I tend to ask many different people for their advice, people that I find that are level-headed, are knowledgeable in the area. I'll reach out to them and ask for their advice. But that doesn't mean that I should take exactly what they say word for word. It's my responsibility as a self-governing woman to listen to their suggestions and then have discernment in my particular situation and apply the advice or not apply the advice, but use my own mind and my own discernment to figure out what the plan of action should be. And so, that's kind of what we did when we were faced with some challenges on our assembly, is that we reached out to many different people across the board. And our assembly decided to, just think about what everybody said and then come up with our own plan. And I think that's one of the challenges I feel like a lot of our assemblies are dealing with, is that they're so used to having some type of an authority figure to tell them what to do. And that if somebody tells them to do something and it didn't turn out the right way for them, then they want to then turn around and blame that person. But the fact of the matter is that we're all responsible and accountable for ourselves, and that it's okay to take the advice from other people. But ultimately, we have to make these decisions that are right for us and for our assemblies and the specific situations we find ourselves in. And so it was really disheartening to learn and hear that, some of the things that you were saying, Richard, that there's a resistance, because I hadn't found that to be true at all with my dealings with you guys. But Joe, you wanted to add something. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well, as you know, Tammy and others here, and those who have been in the cause for, perfecting self-governance, determining what jurisdictions are, being able to walk in what self-governance truly is, should know that there's two iterations of the peacekeeping task force. So, in all fairness, and by the way, before I veer into that, we will be, among other things, providing kind of a novel or a book of the history, our story of how the Federation reached out and expressed their sentiment and genuine concern for the assemblies to, for themselves, self-govern ultimately, and then strive to find ways and to exercise, practice, and put into motion ways to self-govern. So I do have a kind of a list that's kind of burned in my mind on some of the challenges that we've had from the first iteration Peacekeeping Task Force, the leadership there, and as opposed to now. But the legacy has followed us, which Richard has touched on. But I haven't seen too much of that reluctancy. But I welcome those reluctancies, certainly, because of the challenges that the first go around for the Peacekeeping Task Force, how it kind of failed. So the Peacekeeping Task Force 2.0, hopefully never 2.1 or 2.2 or 3.0 or anything beyond that. I think we have a winning ticket here and trajectory. But encouraging the assemblies or the people in general, those who reach out to the Federation or to this derivative of the Federation, knowing what we offer, realizing that there is no compelling any assemblies to do as been told. There is nothing has been told, but simple questions and answers and dialogue back and forth kind of results into a narrative, And it, just like you said, Tammy, whatever people take away from that, that's great. And with the efforts of what Richard can provide as liaison and a team among them for his state and other states as well, it provides that back and forth, that bridge, that interface that we're trying to provide. And there is no, it's just a consulting and a sharing and interfacing. And we practice, the Federation in the States, as the Federation of States, practice with that interaction. Actually, this is how we practice. We practice with each other. We respect each other's time. We learn to respect each other's time and practice, all of those things combined. And through that, then we, again, as far as PKTF, kind of weaning itself from thinking, even the Federation or people involved in the Federation or liaisons thinking to have to deal themselves with conflict resolution, but promoting ombudsman services, beyond just kind of cursory level approaches to talking about conflict resolution, actually providing, stellar conflict resolution services. So ombudsman services, raising that professional standard is what we promote as well. We don't train, we don't provide or maintain conflict resolution, but we certainly advocate for it. We certainly advocate for all law enforcement, all peacekeepers, insist on respecting one another's time and services and their jurisdictions as they run parallel, never combining any kind of hybrid approach to conflict resolution, law enforcement, anything, just the jurisdictions, perfecting that, the reality that there are natural, boundaries of our reality. natural boundaries.
Yeah.
Striving to overcome those developmental hurdles, uh, you know, which, where best in each state assembly and the county assemblies, where do they find their peacekeeping elements? How do they build out from there? Who among the first of us, uh, how would we, or how have they expressed peacekeeping? How do they proclaim that? Those kinds of things. And just in empowering the assemblies to empower themselves ultimately. And so we as a team here, and the liaisons, which eventually will lead into the many thousands, because of the fact that the counties, having a team of liaisons in the future. Just a huge collaborative effort. Everybody cooperating, everybody appreciating the current infrastructure as it could be, as it is, as it can be. Uh, Never mind how it has been. Some of the reputations of law enforcement. Those things still have to be addressed, but they can be discussed and analyzed and shunned. Any corruption, any level of corruption, however, but just respectfully take it upon ourselves to discuss and to mitigate those levels of exploitation of that can creep into any law enforcement or any conflict resolution for that matter. So
Yeah.
those are the challenges that we've had, and we're tracking every aspect of that. In my perspective, we're tracking every aspect of helping the assemblies along. So.
May I, Tam?
Yeah, go ahead, Luis. Yeah.
To follow up with what Joe is saying, one of my challenges as I started really rearing up the resurgence, the American Government Resurgence Project. That's the name of the project I'm working on. I saw the challenge in the collaboration and the communication among the entities that actually are leading the charge of restructuring our government. When I say entities, I mean the Peacekeeping Task Force, the Continental Marshals, the state assemblies, all 50 of them, our GFG Bank, our fiduciary office. I saw that there wasn't enough communication and collaboration among all these entities to spearhead and go in one direction. And that was a challenge for me. I came up against some resistance that I didn't know was there. And that was when we started, the PKTF started talking about we needed a roundtable, a business roundtable, so that all these entities can come to the table and start talking about what are our weaknesses, what has been the bottlenecks, what do we need to fix those issues so that we can move forward. So that's one way that the PKTF is trying to do what Joe said, is to bring everybody to the table and get some focus and some issues resolved, so that we don't stumble over our own feet in trying to get this accomplished and reconstructing our government.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, what I see as observing the this process that we're on and the journey that we're on, I think that in this false matrix that we've been living in, we've been trained to expect that people have an ulterior motive, right? And so with this ulterior motive, concept in our minds is that there's a lack of trust. And you need to, like what you were saying, is you need to come together, as an organization with all these different entities serving in these capacities, so that we all can get on the same page and talk and get to know each other and see where each other's hearts are. I think that that's probably one of the biggest challenges that our assemblies face. I could hear it in certain people's voices that there's a sense of fear. And not only is there a sense of fear, but there's an expectation that there's an ulterior motive. And there's, maybe these false accusations because there's misunderstandings. And then the other challenge that I see is being able to come to the table and fully communicate. The communication, I think that's, Luis, what you were talking about is, there's not a lot of communication going back and forth, like coming together, like if somebody has an issue, talking with one entity of the issue and then talking to the other entity of an issue, and then you're constantly going back and forth, rather than bringing everybody together, bringing everybody to the table, like Anna talks about, right? Like we're all coming to this table, and coming to the table and having your voice heard and being able to express your ideas and communicate properly what your needs, what your wants, what your intentions are, that could really mitigate a lot of the problems that we're seeing
Absolutely.
within our assemblies across all the boards. Like let's just all come together. And that, I think that's the thing that blows my mind the most. I like to communicate. Sometimes I've been accused of over communicating. I like to talk. And so sometimes, that's a turn off for some people. They don't like to talk. That's not a problem for me. I like to understand people and where they're coming from. And I think it's important, maybe there is a fine line between being overly communicative, but I think we're having an issue with the under communication. And I think that we really need to step up our game there.
Yeah, I could not have said that any better, Tammy. And I think that helps with the calibrating of our own self-discipline, our own self-governing, respecting others' efforts and their time. But yeah, stepping up, ramping up, stepping up, or maybe ramping down a little bit, and just kind of that no nonsense approach to let's bring our A game. Let's talk. This is serious. We respect every aspect of who we are. We respect the jurisdictions. We recognize that they exist. We can do better, and we need to maintain doing better, pursuing perfection, if you will. So,
yeah, and I think also approaching each other instead of in an accusatory tone, we're approaching each other in a heart-centered, respecting, caring, loving manner. And if we all show up with that attitude, I think we'll have better outcomes.
right, and that's what we are. We have to. I don't want to put too much on you, Richard, but again, not just yourself, but as a team of liaisons among you, not just at the state level, but it reverberates down to the county levels. You being on your county as a result, by virtue of being at the state level, just kind of utilizing that effort. But they are the ones who will be conducting this. Myself onto California, that should never occur. Luis living on Illinois should never have to speak with law enforcement or any other peacekeeper for that matter directly herself on Florida, Texas to Montana, these kinds of things, or Kathy on in Nevada to New York or anywhere else. It's the efforts of the liaisons is really what makes this happen, this effort possible. So not to put too much on you there, Richard. but we're here, as a staff and as a group, we bounce things off of each other, like what Luis provides in our different strategies for outreach. Striving for perfection, never fully achieving perfection. That's a pretty good journey. Maybe not be perfect, but
and I will say with Luis's project, anytime I've ever received somebody that has a question about the integrity or the motive of the project, I just come right out and ask Luis. I don't beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat anything. I just come out and say, hey, somebody asked me this question. I don't ever reveal who it is. That's creating controversy, I feel like. And so, in my efforts to keep the peace, but I let Luis know that these are some of the concerns of the people and their apprehension of the acceptance of your project. And she just comes right out and answers them. Every time
I love it, Tammy. I can't see it all. I need people, and I don't need people to just agree with me. I need you to see where the weak spots are, and I need you to challenge it. And we need to, I like how Tammy, sometimes Tammy would bring to me, well, how we can make a concession for this person because they having this issue. And I'm like, no, I can't. Sometimes I do tell her, no, because if I make a concession this time, it's going to be something else. And it's going to be something else. And I don't think I should be making those concessions when they're not even coming to the table. We talk about, are they coming to the table? If they're not coming to the table, there's no need to make a concession because they're not in this. So let them just not participate and we'll just agree to disagree. But yeah, Tammy will come and ask and say, well, they see this flaw. What are you going to say to, what do you want to say to that? And I appreciate that with Tammy and anybody else who say, I think this would be a better way to approach that. Then I get to go into my spiritual place where I can analyze and hear the inspiration. I'm like, that is a better idea. Let me tweak it this way. And that's how I developed the project.
And that's what collaboration is all about, right there. When you come to the table and somebody presents an idea or they see a weakness perhaps in a project, if the person on the other end isn't receiving it and they're getting defensive, that's a problem. We can't, there's a difference between defending your position and being defensive, right? And when we could come to the table considering somebody's, opposition, and hearing them, and then really considering it and contemplating on it and thinking about it, instead of just automatically saying, no, it's my way. Going to do it my way.
Yeah.
That's not collaboration,
Right. We're expressing really what it truly is to be a Republican form of government, actually truly appreciating people's objections. And with drawing nearer to perfection, if somebody has a concern or objection, I am expecting, hopefully, to have their solution as well.
Right.
The other side of their objection, not just end the concern halfway, mid-drift, if you will.
Yeah, because then otherwise you're just somebody who likes to complain, and we're not here to just complain about the problems. We're here to have solutions to the problems, and everybody is held accountable and responsible for finding the solutions to those problems.
Also known as remedy, seeking and offering or making your own remedy.
Right. Yep. I love it. All right. What has been some of the most successful achievements for the PKTF thus far?
Let me start
having
with
the directorate field.
Let me start with this one. So just really quick, building up the visible, the cooperative presence. Thanks to Kathy, just moments after even I took over and provided a presence to the assemblies. Luis bringing an affiliated brilliance to strategies, and offering to the assemblies freely their participation and their perspectives and their cooperation, if they so choose. Boyd bringing in the more of the hard hitting, rubber meets the road, 30 plus years of, augmented police forcing, that perspective on how that leads into jurisdictional boundaries, boundary boxes, how police and services are onto a county, or in his case, a parish. How do those things take place? How can change through that right now? How do those training modules find themselves into police offices, police departments, sheriff's offices? How do we get those into their hands? Boyd has brought that in. And right about the same time, all throughout since last year, then we started bringing on liaisons with they got it. Somehow along the way they got it, and some got it early. They just understood. They realized what we were going for, and it's through their efforts. Ultimately, it's through the liaisons' efforts. Kind of a more of a, again, perfected. I like perfection, but I realize only nature in all her brilliance and fury is really truly perfect. But we strive for that. So that the liaisons will provide this. The liaisons themselves will perfect coordination, education, first of all, evaluating where they are. This is right from the federation's, what drove our charter to where it is today. Evaluate, educate, coordinate. But first, evaluate your landscape, evaluate what your physical and mental faculties are, and your desire to, interface with law enforcement, and learn to perfect advocating for peacekeeping internally and then externally. So, and then it's advancing the public record recognition. This is what Boyd is working on right now. And through the liaison roles as an advocate for peacekeeping, they have an extra layer, creating that safe distance, observable distance, and then bringing it in closer, and then embracing one another, handshakes, hugs, salutations, all of those pleasantries about interfacing with one another. So eventually, soon, hopefully, in towards the end of the summer, credential cards, whichever recording office they're on, should begin to be recognized expeditiously from routine traffic stops. And a lot of the assemblies have endured less than favorable routine traffic stops for one reason or another, and usually it started with the licensure or lack of, So in place of that, even in place of a passport, credential cards should begin to be recognized nationwide overnight.
Beautiful. I love it. That's music to my ears, Joe. I want to point out too that the role of the PKTF liaison, I feel like, and Richard is really a great, from what I can see, is that Richard is a great example of this. Is that we need somebody that has the talents and skill sets and the demeanor of being a peacekeeper, meaning that they're not a hothead, somebody that knows how to be the mediator that can smooth things out, and they're truly coming in, and the ultimate goal is to keep the peace. And so I could see that with you, Richard, and it's great that I hope that anybody else who's listening and are aspiring to be a liaison with their PKTF, that's the character in which they encompass, and I feel like that's you're serving that role really well for Illinois. And let's see. So, what are the goals for the near future and in the distant future? I know you guys, you're working on a lot. So I don't know if you've put forward, goals. Well, actually, you just said one. You said the credential card. So, but do you want to talk on any other goals that you might have?
Well, Luis, you want to go first?
Okay.
I'll make our points, but since it's a near and far part of a vision statement, I'll keep Kathy and our parts brief. But we have a list, or I have a list. But go ahead. As far as the strategy portion for yourself on the administrative side.
Okay. So, it seems like my bandwidth is going in and out, so I hope I can get through this. So my near future, within the next month and two, hopefully not three, is to get the project launched. That's my near future goal right there, to get Anna's ear and just hammer it out and get it done. In the more distant future, I like to work on increasing the visibility of the American government in the awareness of the American public. So by networking with these groups, organizations, businesses, that are like-minded, know that they're American, but don't know that the public records say they're not. So try to get us all networking together to get our American government visible in the American public. So that's one thing I want to do. And the second thing I want to do in not too distant future is to work on establishing and beginning that employee-employer relationship dialogue with the de facto coming to the table, all that coming to the table, so that we can make this a smooth transition of governance from the de facto to the rightful American government. So getting meetings with Trump, getting meetings with the Solicitor General, getting meetings with the Department of State, so that we can get our sovereign immunity established and recognized and respected. So that is in a little bit down the road. Once I get this part launched, and all the American state assemblies and the county assemblies on task, then I can work on the de facto counterparts.
Beautiful. I love it.
Right. And so, Tammy, if you can kind of envision two ends, distant ends of the peacekeeping task force, and then a partition in the middle where we try to maintain what would be administrative things that Richard would deal with, to experience, and the correspondence that he would have, who he would have them with, what effects he would see physically take place at the state and county levels. This is more what Luis is working on, closer to the ground kind of effect. To where Kathy and I, it's more of, I guess, the first portion, and then includes all of the peacekeeping task force, and that's to keep it safe, keep the organization's reputation sound, expect complaints, if you will, or whatever, but just talk through them, allow people the opportunity to voice their concerns or their disdain, if you will, and just allow that opportunity to come to us. We absorb it, we reason with their concerns, and we try to make it better ultimately. So the personal commitment to service, absolutely. Aspiring for what a county peacekeeper is. Who is that? Who is he or she? Status corrected. What does that mean to them to be the one to declare peace on their county, to be the one among the first to actually do that, not just for themselves, but for their county and them existing on their county, and then building that forward. Luis and I talked about that, was it yesterday or so, at length, and how to perfect aspiring peace at the local level. Of course, leading by example, we take everything that the Federation provides us as our guidance, and keeps us grounded in our service. The articles within the charters that's provided and that are ongoing always do for any enhancements or things may be taken away in the future. That all of the state assemblies will have a say as to what the peacekeeping task force could offer them and maybe should not any longer offer them, these kinds of things. Promoting traditional peacekeeping, going back to really what we started at from the top with regards to what is post-civil American civil conflict, Reconstruction era. That's the traditional aspect and essence of the peacekeeping task force. So it's really great to know that. And then definitely respecting jurisdictions and then open dialogue, talking about that with law enforcement, peacekeeping, them being counterparts, what they mean back and forth to each other, knowing that nothing within the Federation has any animosity against law enforcement. And we have to appreciate them, like service for that, what Boyd had provided to his parish for those many years, what prior service members like myself has provided, unbeknownst to us, some of the finer details. Nevertheless, as long as people continue to remain peaceful and provide some, space to grow and heal, all of these things is really what we look forward to in the near and far future. So
I love that. That's great. And something came to mind for me, Joe, when you're talking about your striving for excellence. I think that's kind of like a military thing, and I'm aware of it too, because coming from a personal training background, that's kind of like a motto that we get used to. But there's a motto that I used to teach my kids. I talked about this on my last assembly meeting, but it's really funny. And it goes like this: good, better, best. Never rest until good becomes better and better best. And so, and that's actually from Mother Goose, from a nursery rhyme book. And so, when my kids would come home, maybe with a bad grade or something, that was kind of like my saying to them. And I just think that that's, a good motto for all of us to follow. And another one that comes to mind, especially when we're talking about communication, this is one of my mottos is say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't say it mean.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, all right. So how could people support the peacekeeping task force? Do you guys have like a donation tab, or I know you've got so many different things here. I want to also put up your blog spot. Okay, so you want to talk a little bit about this blog spot, Joe?
Well, yes. Yeah, I was going to ask Kathy if she could help me out on this, but right, we have the idea of the news site was to become a digital, like a magazine, a monthly magazine. It's shaped like that, but really, we really don't have space to provide commentary to it. So we've kind of added a side forum, a blog that really helps the burden on the site itself, but then lends the site to more of memorandums, official memorandums, listings, publications, things, listings, distribution, storage. What do I want to say? Areas where you go in and pull information from that leads you to other areas where you can, a little bit more, quite a bit more than a landing site, but it doesn't offer the area for comments necessarily. But tons of areas to learn. Definitely our liaisons, we encourage them to begin to know the site backwards and forwards. The blog itself is for commentary, for the questions, for the articles that would be there. We do have a space, just comparing the news site to the blog. You will see a area for blogs on the news site, but it's going to go away. And official memorandums will be placed in that same section.
Nice.
But the blog is, yes, this is where we gain general commentary from people, questions, answers, dialogue amongst themselves. People can extract articles from there. Many people do. We have American businesses that are growing more fond of what we're doing, and our continuous effort builds a legacy that we rely upon ourselves. State investigators, law enforcement, state and local law enforcement also rely on what we put out. They also know where our charter comes from and the details behind that. That's just a lot of information and a lot of interactiveness that takes place on the blog. So.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Joe's done a great job with the blogs, and there's a catalog, so you can go through and off to the right side and search for your topic, and it'll bring up all of the articles under that topic. So it's just a wealth of information, as well as the web page. There's so much information. It takes a while to go through all the different tabs and just read the information, but it's something that everybody should do, just to go through it and see all the new things, and you'll learn things that you've never known. So it's really well done. And not everything is on peacekeeping. Joe wrote some articles on some different topics that are very interesting as well. One was the surname he did recently, which I thought was really interesting, very informative.
Yep, I like that one myself.
Right, and Tammy, just a little bit more as far as support. And again, going back to none of us have enough time in the day or night that we would like to have to pour into more forums. We do have a link tree. The method to that madness are the facts of those platforms themselves offer people who visit those sites that they can contribute through, interacting with those sites, like Locals, for instance. Fabulous forum in the way it was designed, but myself, I can't quite tear away to bring content to that platform like I would like to. But so if you go and you look through our link tree and you see, well, hasn't been anything put up there for like 3 months. It's because we haven't had the time yet, but we will get there. Not just myself. I mean, I do work. I'm on call 70 hours a week. I don't work 70 hours a week, but I am preoccupied with work for 70 hours a week. So, and rough. It is rough. I usually work about 35 hours a week, maybe. But yeah, I'm on call and I'm out of town. So
And
hotel rooms are my place usually, but I bring all my gear with me and I sleep very little.
And I just want to
Exercise.
say, in addition to Joe, you giving your time and sacrificing your time, I just want to say a great big thank you to your family, your wife and your kids, because if it wasn't for their support for the work you're doing, it makes it rough. And so, we want to recognize that. And there's so many people that are in this movement that are really working hard to get the American government back and fully functioning. Like Joe said, it's a volunteer position, and a lot of people like Joe are working full-time jobs in addition to spending their extra time doing this work. And so I know for me, I love and appreciate your family, Joe. I know I don't know if it was a training call, but I know your daughter or somebody brought you a smoothie, and I thought, how sweet is that? It's so sweet. Making sure that you are staying nourished while while you're working. It's really beautiful. All right, I know we're nearing the end of this interview, and so I want to give each and every one of you an opportunity to close us out with some last words. And I'm kind of a traditionalist here, so I'm going to go with the ladies first. And Luis, why don't you go first? Last words for our audience.
Oh, well, I wanted to talk about the support part. So my last words would be about support. How you all can support the American Government Resurgence Project. We need people who are website developers. We need people who have funds to donate toward the American government website. We actually are building that now. And we need anybody who want to join the strategy task force so we can continue to hone in our strategies and everything. We need somebody on the strategy task force, and any counties out there who are ready to lead the way in restoring the United States on the county national level. Contact us for that too. So we're looking for those people.
Beautiful, thank you, Kathy.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity, and I've talked to some other folks about getting together with you and doing the interviews because I think it's a great way of just letting everybody know what that organization, like for us, PKTF, what we do. And it hopefully has cleared up any of those misconceptions that Richard was talking about, because those are there, and they can see that we are very peaceful, kind people, and we're here for a specific mission, and we put our heart and our soul into it. And just if anybody's interested after listening to this and wants to become a PKTF liaison, we definitely welcome that. The more the merrier. And we want to really engage all the states in joining us. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. I love it. All right. I'm going to let Boyd go next. Boyd, are you still there with us?
I am.
All right. What are your last words for the audience?
Let everybody know that we are here to help in any way that we can. And if we can't, we'll let you know. Call on us. Might take a couple of days before you get a call back, but we will get back with you. We love our country. We love the people, and we're here to work together and unite and be one. That's what we should all be doing. So with that said, thanks for having us here, and it's a real honor. And this was needed. I do believe it was needed. And thank you.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. Honestly, the pleasure was all mine. All right, I'm going to go with Richard. Richard, you're next.
Thank you, Tammy. I'd like to say, get involved, folks. It's time. We need all the boots on the ground. Thank you. I appreciate everything that you do. I've been in all of your meetings that you hold. And thank you for all the time and energy everybody puts into this. I bless you all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Beautiful. All right, Joe, you're up.
Thank you, Tammy. Thanks, everybody. Just really quick, I'm trying to build a mantra in myself that I can share with everybody easily, kind kind of rolls off the tongue kind of a thing. Definitely stay positive. Just kind of prop yourself up and pursuing positive. Take those proverbial frowns, turn them upside down. It can be done. It's just, it does take effort and it takes consistency. Just strive to be positive. Surround yourself more and more with people who appreciate that. Calm those waters. It takes a balance to do that. And just strive for that. Go towards that way and accept nothing less than that. Professionally, and respectfully, it may take time, but it's doable. And that's our effort here. Bring issues to the surface because that's where usually the things are happening. They're happening behind the scenes. They're happening where areas it's just more comfortable for things to kind of stir and swell, so just kind of offer the opportunity to bring them forward. It's usually the first effort towards resolution. Conflict resolution is what the Peacekeeping Task Force and just peaceful coexistence. That's what we're here for. We strive to build those bridges, restore and uplift the need for it, and just aim for lawful, peaceful freedom.
I love it. Thank you, Joe. That was beautiful words. And my last words to everybody is, I just want to say a great big thank you to the Peacekeeping Task Force. And when I introduced you and said that you all were a powerhouse for peacekeeping, I truly meant that wholeheartedly. And it's a pleasure to be on this journey with you. And I'm just looking forward to hearing all the wonderful things that you guys will achieve in the coming year. And so thank you. And for all the listeners out there, like we said, our government is currently being funded by donations. And the Peacekeeping Task Force, if you go onto their website, I'm going to put it up one more time, Joe. pktfnews.org. If you go on there, you can find their donation section, and I'm sure they would love to get a gift from all of you. Our American government was always funded by the people, for the people, and by the people. And so that's you, me, and the chickens, like Anna says. And so anyway, sending love. Thank you guys for tuning in today and listening to this podcast. And we'll see you next time on the American State Assembly's podcast. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Tammy.
Bye. Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you,
Bye, guys.
everybody.